I always think of the first awakening as a gift. It often feels like that, like it just comes like out of nowhere and you feel gifted. Somehow the universe gifted you with this. It can come at any point and any time, and so it's free in the sense that we don't have to earn or deserve it. But once that's happened, it's almost as if the game shifts.
I think for a lot of people, they experience the kinds of shifts you're talking about for moments. They might experience it while they're listening to you or reading one of your books. But it's not really a shift in how they live their life or even their ongoing experience of themselves. It's more a vacation or a trip that they take occasionally when they're reading, a book by a powerful spiritual teacher. Is that an awakening? What's that?
Sure. I think it's an awakening. It's a temporary awakening. Sometimes I'll call those like a foretaste. That you get a taste of something, like you said. It's a vacation. But like a vacation to, we're in California. If we took a vacation to New York, if we just landed in New York, looked around for 5 minutes, got back in a plane and came back here, we still would have gone to New York. We would have been there. We might not know really much about New York at all, right? We don't know much about the terrain, but we know much more than we did before we took a flight there. And so it's very common for people to have these shifts that may be momentary, a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, that then seem to diminish to some extent or seem to disappear. Because they diminish doesn't mean that what you realized was untrue. It just means that it's still vacillating, that it wasn't sort of deep enough or encompassing enough to sort of become more of a stable ground from which you perceive and live from.
And what would you say to someone who has had that kind of vacation taste, but it's not their stabilized way of being, and what they feel is a sense of disappointment, grief, frustration? Talk to that person.
Yeah, it's so common. That experience is so common. And it does often leave a feeling of grief or disappointment, in its wake. There's two things I often tell people, and they sound very contradictory, but I kind of tend to view them as more paradoxical. The first one is I often try to help people see that what they saw, what they experienced when everything was clear at that moment, that there is still some of that with them now. It may be clouded over. It's definitely going to be much more subtle than it was before. Sometimes it's revelatory. It's just put in your face. You cannot possibly miss it. But then it recedes to something that's very sort of soft, something that's easy to dismiss. So I'll try to point them towards, often by asking them a series of questions. Something like, can you honestly tell me that everything that you saw, everything that you realized, that perspective, that all of it is completely gone now? And in almost every case, the person will tell me, well, it's not all gone. It's not like it was, though. That's what I want. I say, well, let's come back. How is it presenting now? So that's one thing I'll do. And suggest that not trying to grasp that or hold on to it, but just kind of abide with it. Just acknowledge that there's still kind of the perfume of it. And that can be important and significant too, because what we acknowledge tends to grow in our experience, what we give a little attention to. The other thing I'll say, which is quite paradoxical, is also don't be grasping, don't try to recreate that experience. Mm-hmm. That was the experience of that moment. Don't become attached to it. Don't become thinking that now that's your reference point for your next experience of reality. It can be very difficult to let that go, because in essence you're asking someone to let go of their experience of heaven, even if it was temporary. And it's like, really? You're asking me to let go of heaven? And Yeah, because there's a dynamic that's often at play here, which is I always think of the first awakening as a gift. It often feels like that, like it just comes like out of nowhere and you feel gifted, somehow the universe gifted you with this. And then I call it a freebie because it doesn't really require anything. You don't earn it with merit or it doesn't come because you've mastered a certain technique. It can come at any point and any time. And so it's free in the sense that we don't have to earn or deserve it. But once that's happened, it's almost as if the game shifts. And what was shown to you for free now, in a certain sense, costs you everything to live with it. In other words, at the moment of revelation, it's almost like the letting go is done for you by automatic. And then later, it's like now that you've seen the dimension of where that letting go can get you, but now you're asked in a way, now you have to let go consciously and willingly. It's not going to be done for you over and over and over again. It may visit you again where it's all done for you, but now you're being asked to almost like retraverse the terrain that you almost leapt over when this was all done for you. And now you're doing it kind of consciously. And of course, you're also having to encounter your resistances, the confusions, everything you transcended, in other words. Now you're kind of working through your humanity what you transcended. And so that's what I mean. It costs you. You have to really participate. You play a very conscious role in kind of walking back into what's already there, as paradoxical as that may sound.
Discover on-demand videos and docuseries, explore a full schedule of daily life classes, and become part of an incredible community. At Sounds True One, we invite you inward to find your way your way.